Thanks for tuning in to NASCAR coverage on Proline TV. That's right, NASCAR coverage, even without a race this week. We just couldn't wait another week. And we had to talk NASCAR because, well, Sunday's race was so awesome, CJ. I just couldn't get my NASCAR fill. I needed to talk more about the sport.
You might need some more excitement in your life if you think that last week's race was exciting. Oh, it was terrible. Another dominating performance at a place that used to be super exciting. No tire issues. It was one to be forgotten for sure. NASCAR has to do something with this new car on the short track packages because it has just ruined racing at places like Martinsville, Richmond. We've had complaints about in the past too, but certainly Bristol as well. The short tracks used to be some of the most exciting races that we'd get all season. And with this new car, they're some of the most boring we get every year.
I don't know what they're waiting for. So, and then we saw the resin, whatever they were, whatever they use, whatever they want to call it, on Saturday. And we figured, oh, okay, so it's going to be more like last year's spring race. No. And are we supposed to be led to believe that just because it got 10 degrees hotter, that completely changed everything? Is that really what the excuse possibly was? Or, I mean, come on.
It's certainly the excuse. And we talked about it last week going into the race that there was a lot of confusion or unknowns about why the tire wear was so great last spring and wasn't in the fall. We did say that, and even Denny Hamlin said it, nothing's changed since the fall race. So we should really expect more of the same, which is exactly what we got. And I guess if Sunday does prove anything, maybe that temperature is the issue, but I don't know. It's the temperature coupled with the new car, because the temperature at that track in the past was never a problem, never a factor. We said it. We've had snow on that race weekend in the spring races for Bristol in the past, so it's been cold and it's still taken rubber, and we've not seen the tire issues that we had back in the spring. But long story short, everybody, or at least you and I, we've been talking for a long time that the way to get better racing is to have tire fall off and tire wear and force people to manage their tires through an entire stint and not have a tire that can last an entire fuel run. And that's 100% not what we got on Sunday. And that's the same that we got at Bristol last fall as well. So something's got to be done, whether it's tires or car. NASCAR's got to figure it out because tracks aren't changing. It's too expensive to change those. There's got to be something that they can do.
Well, we'll find out for sure next time around, because I mean, if nothing changes between now and the fall race, then I can see Kyle Larson being like an even money favorite on a Tuesday with Denny Hamlin like 3-1.
And I'm willing to bet you absolutely nothing changes for the fall race, because it is the knockout race of the first round of the playoffs is when we go back to Bristol. I can't imagine that NASCAR is going to do anything different to then have the finger pointed at them that somebody was knocked out because of the unknowns of NASCAR changing the rules or whatever the case may be, because of its spot in the calendar and being that cutoff race for that first round of playoffs. I just can't see anything changing. So everybody put your futures money on Larson to make it.
Oh, yeah, if that's the case. I know we never usually do it, but maybe that's one of those weeks where we'll just have to bite it and just go along with it. Speaking of Kyle Larson, so he was in the news this week for making some weird Xfinity comments. And I didn't even realize they were still, Cup drivers were still racing in the Xfinity series, because I haven't seen any or heard of any lately. And then sure enough, Kyle Larson, for whatever reason, decides to race an Xfinity series at Bristol. And didn't he do this like last week or the week before or something? I think I heard. So I don't know why the so-called, and I don't even now. I know they allowed Kyle Busch in his heyday, and that was a completely different system. I never understood why Kyle Busch did it, but hey, you know what they say? Hey, I'm a race car driver. That's what I do. That's what they all say. That's what I do. Well, I mean, still, now they limit the number of drivers in Xfinity, and I'm completely cool with that. Of course, I still think it should be 0, but whatever. So he goes ahead and races and says some really weird things. So let's take a look at the latest broadcast a couple of days ago from Eric Estepp's Out of the Groove broadcast, and this is what was said. Actually, you know what? I want to make sure that I get the volume on this. So let me do that. Okay. So this is
he goes on to say, quote, I want to embarrass NASCAR a little bit because
I don't need the volume right there now. So this is the quote here. And I don't know, just by reading this quote here, and we're going to get into it even more. I don't understand why you would open yourself up for this. Like, what is when you say something like this, especially when you're a professional athlete, you know what you're going to say, especially when you're just to come off a race. This is you're just in a interview. What could he have possibly been thinking?
I have no idea. And this is another one of those Kyle Larson moments where something comes out of his mouth and you just scratch your head like, what are you thinking? Yeah, he's not wrong in what he says. The reason why I think it's good to have I'm all for, Xfinity drivers competing against Xfinity drivers and have it 0. I am for that, and have it like every other feeder system within the motorsports world. So IndyCar, Formula One, etc. You cut your teeth in the lower rungs of the ladder system and you work your way up. I am also for, from time to time, having somebody step down that has experience and might be faster and might know more in order to help teach these guys. Generally, they step down as a driver coach or something like that. Here in NASCAR, for whatever reason, they let them step down as a driver. And the way that these young drivers learn from the veterans coming down is by following in their tracks and seeing what they do and how much exactly they get beat up on. And Larson's exactly right. Like there is a lot of learning to do for all of these drivers, and that's the exact reason why they're in the Xfinity series, is to get that experience, and that's what NASCAR is trying to provide for them. So for him to come out, it's awfully arrogant. He opens himself up, as you correctly stated, to lots of controversy and questions, and he's going to be a lightning rod because of it. But he's not entirely wrong. But again, I do like the idea of more like step down as a driver coach. Don't step down there in a demeaning fashion to say I'm better than all of you and I'm going to show you by beating up on you on Saturday.
Love this whole thing, though. I love the little bit of attitude, the arrogance coming from one of the top drivers in the sport. If you got a problem with what Larson just said, what are you going to do about it? He just waxed the field on Saturday and Sunday, back-to-back days, different cars, different series. At Homestead a few weeks ago, he built like a 15-second lead in the Xfinity Series race, won the Cup race on Sunday as well. What are you going to say to him? If you don't want Larson to talk down to you, go beat him, or at least make it a little more competitive.
Okay, so here's the thing, CJ. Question. Did Kyle Larson make these remarks to Cup drivers?
Of course not.
Okay. Eric is making it sound, because he's looping in his dominance in the Cup Series along with his dominance in the Xfinity Series and saying, hey, if you don't like it, come beat me.
Yeah,
he never called out the Cup Series drivers. You can't loop the Cup dominance in with his remarks.
Yeah, this was all about stepping down and proving to the next generation of driver that is set to come up that they have a long way to go before they can come and compete with him. And maybe he does have a fair point if he wants to address the Cup drivers in the same way, but I'd be happy to point out.
I love that.
Exactly.
That's what I want to see.
I'm sure they'd all be happy to point out that he crashed on lap 4 at Darlington and also 4 laps from the end at Darlington too. So he's not infallible. But yeah, the problem is, again, that, as I said, nothing is wrong. Like, nothing is untrue, I should say, with what Larson said. It's the way that he said it, and the fact that it's a younger generation of driver that is there to gain experience, and they can gain experience from him. I think they can gain experience from him by being a little less arrogant and forceful with it. That level of competitiveness would be great for the Cup Series, especially when we've got such a boring race on Sunday at Bristol. Can you imagine if he would have said that on Saturday to the Cup drivers and in relation to Cup, and then went out and did it on Sunday? Can you imagine how pissed off every other driver would be, as well that they should? And maybe we'd have a better race at Talladega in 2 weeks' time.
Again, I am completely on board with wanting to see more of these drivers be braggadocious and start, fighting, even if it's just through words. But it has to be with fellow Cup drivers. Do that, and I'm all in, Eric. He wasn't talking to Cup drivers. So I don't know why, getting excited about Kyle Larson slamming Xfinity Series drivers, which is exactly what he did. It's not the same. It's not even close. So, and we're not going to hear Kyle Larson bashing Cup drivers and saying things like that. So it ain't happening. He ain't that stupid. Okay. Let's take a look at some futures. We haven't really done that for a while. This is the perfect time because it's the only break we have.
I say, is Kyle Larson at the top?
Yeah, that would be a shock, right?
Dropped to 250.
Yeah. Who do you think's in second? That's the big question. Christopher Bell, probably.
Christopher Bell. Yeah, of course.
So Larson, what are you thinking? Like around what?
I'd say 250 or 350. Probably 350.
Yeah, I think 350 is a good number. And then Bell probably like 350, 400, right next to him.
Agreed.
300?
Yeah, I think they'll be tied. Oh, no.
Wow.
450. Well, you're getting a discount for Bell.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is what you want to see, by the way. Again, look, just because I took Christopher Bell to win the championship this year, it doesn't mean I'm stupid enough to take him right now with these odds, because he's never going to be this hot the rest of the season. He's just not. He's not going to win another 3 races in a row. Okay. It's not going to happen. So that means that at some point, those odds will start to come back down a little bit. Now, I might not get anything better than 5 or 6 to 1, because Vegas is infamous of, once you're down here, they don't pull you back very often too far. So that's the bad part. But you have to be patient. If you haven't already, if you didn't put money on Bell in the beginning of the season, you have to be patient now. And forget about Kyle Larson. 3 to 1, it makes no sense. Especially for a driver that historically is very inconsistent and has a lot of races to be inconsistent the rest of the way. So if you wanted Kyle Larson, you just should have taken him before the season began as well. All right, so who do you think is next? Blaney?
I was going to say Hamlin or Blaney, to be honest with you. Hamlin's got 2 race wins. I think people are probably starting to get a little bit excited about him.
Okay. Where do you think he would be? 5? 6?
If 550, 600.
6. There you go. And again, now we're getting into numbers that is a little bit more okay. I mean, I don't mind. Once again, I don't know how much better even Denny can be, or hotter Denny could be. I think I don't know, maybe he'll win another couple of races the rest of the season. I can't imagine Denny's going to win 6 races this year.
Well, we do come back to some short tracks, so I think he's got a couple race wins probably left in him. It's still a little bit too low for me. I think he's getting the lower odds mainly because his wins were more recent. I think the same thing with Christopher Bell. Just be a little bit patient. If you want to go with Hamlin, I think they'll probably drop a little bit, maybe 7 or 8. Maybe when we get into the summer months, then when we start coming back to the tracks where he's been good at, I think he'll be good again in the fall.
Blaney or Byron next?
Blaney. Should be 650. Yeah, there we go.
All right. So Blaney right behind Hamlin, and then Byron, right?
Then Byron. Yeah, it's got to be Byron.
There you go. Okay. And there we got Reddick. Who should be behind Reddick? I don't know if 9-1 is. I don't know. I mean, 9-1 is okay. But I don't know if it's okay for Reddick. I mean, that's it's not like he's done anything fantastic so far this season to justify 9-1.
Oh, not this season. I think by the end of the year, he's one of those guys that ramps up, and when you get to the playoffs, starts stepping things up. So I don't see a big of a difference at 9 now versus 9 later, but maybe you have the luxury of waiting to see that the season doesn't go wrong for him. Basically, I think he ends up at the same price by the time we get closer to the playoffs as well, even when he starts getting a little bit hotter. Who would be next?
Well, some of the options, you've got Chase Elliott, you've got Logano.
Logano's got too many problems right now. So I was thinking Chase Elliott. Bowman probably not getting the respect that he deserves.
I don't know. I don't think so. No.
Elliott probably 11.
All right, let's see. All right, there's Chase Elliott. We might make a little bit of a gap here. I'm going to still say Logano should be next, maybe at 11 or 12-1.
I think that's when you get Logano and there's a bigger gap. It's probably 12.
Yeah. There you go, 14.
14.
Okay, but again, this is a different year. So Joey's not going to win the championship this year, no matter how good those odds look, fellas. All right. Now we get a gap, right?
Significant.
Who's next? We got Bubba.
Probably
you have Bowman, Briscoe, Chastain, Kyle.
Briscoe might be there. I'll go with Briscoe.
Chastain.
Yeah, big gap.
Yep. And now we got to find out which well, we already know which bargains to take.
Yep.
I don't know. See, I don't know if do you think well, we know he's got the team, so do you think he's capable of getting not only to the Final Four? I think he's capable of getting to the Final Four. But then actually winning the championship. Do you think Chase Briscoe can win the championship this year?
I would say Chase Briscoe is more likely to win Phoenix than he is to get into the Final Four. So I would say the complete opposite. So I wouldn't take him because I don't think he's going to advance that far. I think he's going to trip up in some round and he's going to find himself in trouble. He does have the team to do it, and he does have the team to win races. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is a stepping stone for him to get there and be in the Final Four in next year or the years to come. But I think it's probably more likely that he's able to win Phoenix versus actually making it all the way to the Final Four.
All right. So we can go with Wallace. You got Busher you want. So you're still going to go Busher. Don't forget there's Wallace, Kyle Busch, and Bowman.
I think Bowman shouldn't be this far back to begin with. But
really nice.
Yeah.
Josh Berry got the win. So
he's got to win, but that doesn't mean he's going to get all the way to the Final Four and win it again.
No way.
There's Bowman. No respect, as usual.
No respect.
And Busch. Yeah. I think Busch probably is a bargain at this point at 35 because I think he's going to win a race. Things are starting to get marginally better. Last year was a horrible year of luck for him. I think he's been closer and faster so far this year. He's just got to bring the consistency along with him.
Yeah, and again, it's winning championships. It's about how you do in the second half. And Kyle is look, he's in 15th place. He's not in 25th place. So he's in 15th place, and he hasn't really done a whole lot. But as you said, he's been better than last year. So they just got to get a little bit of forward momentum. And I'm telling you, if he wins a race and he starts showing like, hey, 3 straight top 5s in a win, that 35-1 is going to drop to like 10. and you are going to feel stupid for not taking the chance on him at 35-1. So I think that is a definite take. Bowman is the obvious take. So look, Wallace has a hard enough time winning a race, let alone thinking that he can win a championship. So I can't go down that road. And the same thing with Ty Gibbs. So really, Buescher looks like the only other driver here, because you got another huge gap to these drivers who are not winning a championship. So really, because of that, it's like I got to put Buescher in there as well. I got to go Bowman, Kyle Busch, and Buescher, and Briscoe, Chastain. Well, here, how about Chastain? We didn't really talk about Chastain because a couple of years ago we would have said, yeah, Chastain, yeah, he's ready to win a championship, but he's done nothing for the past year and a half.
If you put money on Chastain now, you're betting that he figures things out and then becomes the Chastain that we knew from 2 seasons ago. And I think that's entirely possible, and that's why you're getting the discount now. If you wait, again, I think like others that you talked about, he drops significantly. I don't know if he necessarily drops to 10-1 or anything like that. But Chastain, once he gets hot, he's pretty hot. And, throw all your repeat winning statistics out the window from the past couple of years, because it's happened a lot so far this year. So if Chastain gets on a run, I could see him going significantly lower in odds than 28 and advancing all the way through.
So that would give us 4 long shots that we would recommend. You got Chastain at 28, Bowman at 30, Busch at 35, and Buescher at 40.
Yep.
So these are the ones we want you to invest in. And then as far as the favorites, it's just a little early. I think that look, I wouldn't, these would be the only 4 drivers where you'd have to think about it if you haven't already wagered on. And if you did, which one do you think is the best option here, the way it looks right now?
Blaney. Well,
Okay.
I guess I think the most likely is Blaney. I think the best value on the screen right now certainly is Tyler Reddick, because he's a second half driver, and I could see him just like we talked about with Ross Chastain. I would expect actually Reddick to figure it out and be hot by the time we get to the playoffs, and that's all it takes.
Okay. So before we X out, and we'll be talking about F1 as well, Formula One, Saudi Arabia this week. So we'll get on that. Look out for that video in a few days. As far as so far, some of the teams that have been disappointing, some of the drivers, who sticks out the most as far as the most disappointing team?
Probably Trackhouse, though they started to take a step forward in Bristol. I think many people expected much more out of them so far. I think Briscoe probably is, but again, I think he's starting to turn it around. He's had some spots where I thought he could be really good, and I probably didn't give him enough grace of time to settle into the new team and things like that. But I think, again, they're showing evidence of turning it around. But the biggest loser, without question, at this point has to be Logano and Team Penske. So coming off of the championship year, just absolutely, no top tens, nothing to speak of, horrific bad luck, can't seem to get anything going in their direction. So, and
yet, by the way, both drivers are in the top 10 in standings.
Remarkably, I did notice that, but yeah, it's Logano in particular, just really having a rough go at the start of the season.
It's not an even year.
Nope, that is true.
So forget it. It's just not worth it. He ain't winning no championship this year. Wait till next year. So, yeah, I mean, and even RFK, if you think about it.
Well, you've got Buescher and Priest that have racked up top 10.
Priest actually, Priest has done a lot better. They don't have any top 10 drivers, though. But, yeah, Priest is the big story.
Correct. But Keselowski, like you said, completely floundering, unable to figure out anything to pull himself forward, had another bad race at Bristol. So things just not going his way right now. But I did like to see Priest getting some top results in there, running in the top 10. And Buescher's running the top 10 as well. It just hasn't gotten the race finishes to go along with it.
And moving forward, if you had to bet on a team that will pick it up and maybe even we'll see a win from them or multiple wins from them, would you go with Spire? Would you go with Front Row? Yeah, let's just go with those two, Spire and Front Row. Which one of those two?
You're going to make
me trust more.
You're going to make me choose Front Row because of the legal off-track battles. So I think that, like Kyle Larson sticking it to Xfinity drivers, I'd like to see Front Row stick it to NASCAR by winning a race and getting into the playoffs, and then having the whole charter controversy going on in the background at the same time.
Very interesting way of looking at it. I'm all for that. It'd be nice just to see some of those, a couple of those drivers win anyway. Both of them.
Yeah, and I think they're all very good too. Spire drivers as well. I think Spire could surprise with the win. They've shown it could even come at Talladega. They've got some good super speedway speed as well. So definitely some races to look out for in both of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see, Haley's had a good couple of weeks, or at least last week, and yeah, these are, I mean, McDowell has been okay. But the last couple of races, things have gone well for him. And overall, at this point, lastly, there is not really I guess Priest would be considered the outlier as far as any driver that was not picked to make the playoffs before the season began. So if you had to pick one driver to make the playoffs right now that doesn't have a win yet, and is in that category, because Priest is 14th, then you got AJ 16th, then you got Stenhouse, McDowell, John Hunter, Haley, Smith, Hocevar, so on. So do you think it's Priest? Do you still think that if you had to bet, Priest would be the guy?
On a normalized basis, I would say Priest. However, I do think that with more seat time, especially in the second half of the season, when we get to those late summer road courses, Shane Van Gisbergen is probably going to win a race and probably going to end up in the playoffs.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because of how poorly the team has been so far this season, it's not – look, you're a Shane Van Gisbergen fan. That's one thing. But for the sport in general, it just wouldn't be good. If he winds up stealing a spot, he's going to be done in 3 races. So hopefully we'll see to pick things up a little bit so they can be respectable if they actually steal a playoff berth from a road race win. So
yeah, and I think he will. He came to on the ovals in the Xfinity series, but again, see Kyle Larson's comments from earlier in the show.
Yeah, you don't have to remind me. All right, so anyway, that's gonna wrap it up. Next week it's Talladega, and if all goes well, I'm gonna really try to do a live end of the race broadcast. So hopefully there's no weather delays or nothing, because just so happens, I mean, I haven't been to the movies in like over a year. And so I want to go see The Accountant too. So I said, all right, I'm going to go. So the only day that makes sense is a Sunday based on the schedule. So I'm going on Sunday night, and I don't have to leave until like about 6:30, right around that time. And the race should be over like around 6 to 6:15. So I'm going to try to do it, and hopefully it'll end in like a normal time. Like if they like wind up getting into all sorts of restarts, cautions and do that kind of thing, I'll be in big trouble. But I'm hoping I'll be able to work that in, and whether you can join me or not, the invitation will be open, and we'll see if we can get this done and see if it'll be a lot of fun or not. But hey, it's Talladega, and the ends of those races could be quite entertaining. So that's next week. We'll preview Talladega. And don't forget, no F1 next week. So we'll be flying solo for NASCAR on the channel next week. But don't forget also, we'll be previewing Saudi Arabia for the Formula One series right here on Proline TV, recording that segment in just a few minutes and posting it in a few days. The NASCAR recording goes up today here on Wednesday, and we'll see everybody again next week, because I do not think that we have, I don't believe we have, just I think this is, let me just double check, make sure that there weren't any made. Oh, by the way, want to shout out to Lana, because she made the trip to Bristol for her very first race. I mean, I think the best thing for Lana going to Bristol, like you might think, oh, what is the worst timing in the world for her to go see a race, was that race. But in actuality, it was probably the best thing, because you wouldn't want to watch it on TV. But any race in general, when you're there, is usually passable.
Absolutely. Yeah, the TV does not do it justice. If you can see it in person, absolutely go see it. Lana, I can't wait to hear how you liked it, aside from the domination from Kyle Larson, but I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, Lana said, it's Bristol, baby. Great first race experience at Xfinity today. Can't wait for tomorrow. She made this comment on the starting lineup video I did last Saturday. I had to pick 2 for Work League today and went with Blaney and Bell. I guess she should have, next time around, she'll go with Larson and Hamlin if she knows what she's doing, which I think at this point we all do. Thanks for the video. Again, I'm sure Lana had a really great time on Sunday too. Donald Veal, by the way, this is based on the reaction that we had from the previous race. Are you mad, Greg? My wife took Blaney, not happy either. So this is, of course, referencing, what was that, Martinsville?
Darlington.
Darlington. Okay. That was the Darlington race just before the race last week at Bristol, when things did not work out well for Ryan Blaney, when Studley Kyle Larson had like the worst car on the track and crashed. And you know the whole story. Anyway, so that's going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for those comments, and don't forget to keep those coming as well. Questions too, and subscribe. I'm sure a lot of you have already subscribed, but newcomers, you want to subscribe to the channel. And that also means to hit the bell for the notification, because if we do the live show for Talladega next week, that's the best way of knowing and getting a reminder that there is a show that you have subscribed to that is going to be going on the air. And that will definitely help you to know, just in case you just happen to forget it, because it'll be the weekend. You might just forget it. And if you want to see it live, that's the best way to do it. So we're out of here talking NASCAR. We will be talking F1 next. And by the way, nothing this week at all with RotoWire. Is that correct? From NASCAR?
We'll have, so Trucks and Xfinity are at Rockingham. So first time the trucks are back since like 2013 or so. So I'll have a DFS preview up probably Thursday evening, Friday morning for the truck race there if you want to watch it. And then Xfinity, we should have some coverage there as well from my partner in crime, Dan, over at rotowire.com.
There you go. We'll see everybody next week.